Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Hastachadishatarine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashatadishatarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gauramaktavrindam
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gauramaktavrindam
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaurabhaktavrindam
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaurabhaktavrindam
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaurabhaktavrindam
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaurabhaktavrindam Krishna
Srila Prabhupada ki. Ratara Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki. Goda Premanande.
Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody. All YouTube viewers. All in-house bhaktas. All Zoom devotees. Welcome back to another daily reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And today we are continuing on chapter 13, text 23. 13:23. And if I remember, I think we should probably finish this chapter today. Maybe. So we're going to start with the invocation, Mangalacharna, on page 1 if you want to follow along. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vidangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Mutitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalang pangang lang hayate girim yat kripatam aham vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. Okay. 1323. Upadrashtanumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul. Purport. It is stated here that the Supersoul, who is always with the individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. He's not an ordinary living entity. Because the monist philosophers take the knower of the body to be one, they think that there is no difference between the Supersoul and the individual soul. To clarify this, the Lord says that he is represented as the Paramatma in every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is Pada, transcendental. The transcendental soul enjoys the activities of a particular field, but the Supersoul is present not as finite enjoyer, nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness, overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer.
You said transcendental, or it said individual?
Oops. I just really wanted to be. The individual soul enjoys the activities of a particular field, but the Supersoul is present not as finite enjoyer, nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness, overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer. His name is Paramatma, not Atma, and he is transcendental. It is distinctly clear that the Atma and Paramatma are different. The Supersoul, the Paramatma, has legs and hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because the Paramatma is the Supreme Lord, he is present within to sanction the individual soul's desiring material enjoyment. Without the sanction of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. The individual is Bhukta, or the sustained, and the Lord is Bhokta, or the maintainer. Bhukta and Bhokta. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam. There are innumerable living entities, and he is staying in them as a friend. The fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has the tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity can be situated either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. As long as he is conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord, as his friend, the Supersoul, stays with him just to get him to return to the spiritual energy. The Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy, but due to his minute independence, the individual entity is continually rejecting the association of spiritual light. This misuse of independence is the cause of his material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and from without. From without, he gives instructions, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. Just give it up and turn your faith toward me, then you will be happy, he says. Thus, the intelligent person who places his faith in the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins to advance toward a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Sign me up. Text 24. Yaevam veti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha savita vartamanopi nasapuya bhijayate. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature, is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Purport. Clear understanding of material nature, the supersoul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By his personal endeavor and association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the personality of Godhead. Then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transferred into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Dhyanenatmani pashyanti kechiratmanam atmana anye sangyena yogena karma yogena chapare. Some perceive the supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Purport. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life. They are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma, the Supersoul in everyone, the all-pervading Godhead. Of course, there are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as the 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service and Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service and Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are pure in consciousness and who try to find out the supersoul by meditation, and when they discover the supersoul within themselves, they become transcendentally situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the Supreme Soul by cultivation of knowledge. There are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. Anye tvevam ajananta shrutvanyebhya upasate tepi jatitarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Purport: this verse is particularly applicable to modern society, because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing, because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress. Especially, according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home. Hearing, hearing, hearing. Are you hearing this? Are you hearing what I'm hearing? I'm here to hear. That's what Mother Nidra said once. We were in the van. We were in the van going to a home program, and it was basically a bunch of brahmacharis, and Mother Nidra was sitting in the back, and I think maybe Mother Tadia, and there was a brahmachari sitting next to Mother Nidra. I think it was Jai Sachi, my friend. We were in the Bhakti program at that time. I think it was. It was a Spanish-speaking devotee. And they were speaking Spanish to another Spanish-speaking devotee. And Mother Nidra was like, "What are you saying?" She's like, "What are you saying?" She's like, "I want to hear." She's like, "What does that mean?" She was like really like wanted to hear. She's like, and she said, "I'm here to hear." Mother Nidra said that because she was detecting that they were having some nectar kata in another language, and she wanted to hear it. Hare Krishna. She's like, "I'm here to hear. I'm here to hear." From ear to ear. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam stavara jangamam chatrajitrigya samyogat tadvidi bharatarshabha. O chief of the Bhartas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Purport. Both material nature and the living entity which were existing before the creation of the cosmos are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving, and there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of the material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature. And thus, all these activities and manifestations take place. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshvaram vanashyatsya vanashyantam yapashyati sapashyati. One who sees the supersoul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the supersoul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. Purport. Anyone who by good association can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body or individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul, is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body, and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually, it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the supersoul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. The Sanskrit word Parameshvara is sometimes translated as the individual soul, because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parameshvara to be the supersoul. In either case, both the supersoul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what is happening. So, You're always asking about the super soul. I'm not going to say much here, but you're always asking about realizing the super soul. Prabhupada's basically saying here that you must see all these things connected. The body, the proprietor of the body, aka the individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul. Yeah. To fully realize Paramatma, one has to see all these things together. Like we might have this concept of just realizing Paramatma, but just having even a vision or realization of Paramatma is not complete unless you see also all the other aspects, combined together, including, Krishna himself. Otherwise, Super Soul is not fully realized. Does that make sense?
It's hard to imagine all three at once. It's like I try to imagine one and then the other one, like it's hard to put on top of it.
Well, it's to be realized. Even if we can't imagine it, it's okay. But we can move on faithfully by this hearing process.
Yeah.
In the right mood, the right attitude, hearing and chanting. You actually, we come to realize it. Actually, he's saying that anyone who, by good association, can see three things combined: the body, the proprietor of the body, and the friend of the individual soul. So you're literally seeing them. Seeing doesn't always mean literally with your material eyes, because we also can see like with our heart, in a sense.
Yeah.
So
there's a stage where you chant Hare Krishna and you see Krishna in your heart.
it's called television of the heart.
Television of the heart.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I really aspire for that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hearing about that is beautiful.
You can. It's good inspiration for chanting japa.
Yes.
But anyway, these things are to be revealed, but we can at least understand as much as we can and try, whenever we go out on books and you're seeing the people, try to remember and pray to Krishna and try to see these three things. Try to see what Prabhupada's explaining every day that we read. Assimilate it. And he'll give you realization, especially during book distribution. That is like fast track to Krishna consciousness, to deepening our realization, and combined with reading Prabhupada's books every day, chanting on our beads.
If I try to see Krishna in everything in me, that's the other verse. For one who sees everything. Oh, there's more. I wonder if Prabhupada also has to say this. What more he has to say about this specific thing, about how to see Super Soul. I can't believe I passed this up. I don't even remember reading this. Granted, I've only read the Bhagavad Gita front cover to cover one time ever.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I read Bhagavad Gita, but there's still most of it is brand new to me. Alright, well I think we're on text 29 now. Samam bhashani sarvatra samavastitam ishvaram ahinastyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. One who sees the Super Soul equally present everywhere and every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Purport: the living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality. And he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense-gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to the Supersoul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding.
Sees Krishna in everything.
Presence of Krishna. The presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing.
That's so nice. There's a scene in Mahavatar Narasimha. Prahlad Maharaj gets his blessing from Vishnu after crying on a beach. He lays down on a rock. He says, "O Lord, kindly appear before me. O Lord, kindly appear before me." Vishnu appears before him. He opens his eyes. He sees Vishnu. And Vishnu grants him with the ability to see him everywhere he goes. And then there's a scene where he's like turning, he's like going like this. I like that. And he's looking at all the trees and everything. That's how I feel whenever I do it a little bit sometimes. But like I can't, it's hard to stay in it. I don't know, I get pulled out of it. It's like a meditation, I have to work on it. Or maybe there's some trick that I don't know, I wish I knew.
Yeah. It's good. Smarting, remembering, tend to forget. Put our attention to so many things else. You know? But just to remember, just simply like, it can be just as simple as just remembering that Krishna is in this. You know? Just simple remembering.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me do this in such a way, I'm consciously trying to see, move towards Krishna here. We got a message from Mukunja. It is easy to fall into a destructive mentality if we don't see Krishna in everything. Right.
Like negativity? Destructive?
Any kind of way.
Okay.
Unless we're moving in towards Krishna consciousness, then basically we're either in Krishna consciousness or we're in Maya. And if we're acting in material consciousness, then ultimately for ourselves, it's not beneficial, and it is destructive because either we're making progress spiritually, or we're going down further into material consciousness. There isn't any like plateauing. It might seem like that for a while, but actually it doesn't stay like that. Either we're going up or down. Prabhupada explains that. So, if we're engaging materially, then it's like turning around and starting to walk away from Krishna, which is ultimately destructive. The spirit soul cannot be destroyed, but it's the same reason why our public schools are referred to as slaughterhouses of the soul, because they get pushed deeper into material consciousness, which is virtually like suicide for the soul. Actually, it's worse because you get too deep and then you have to die 100 million times. It never ends.
It's like the most thick covering. It's like the most thick covering of Maya public schools. You see it?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like so like aromatic and full of like the aroma is heavy with like social pressure.
It's everywhere.
Pressure.
Everywhere in the material world here,
So much pressure, yeah.
Okay, she's asked, can you talk more about Parameshvara versus Paramatma? Well, Param Ishvara. Ishvara means controller, Param means supreme. So really, Parameshvara means the supreme controller. We heard today that sometimes, just like in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that sometimes Bhagavan refers to some great personality, and certainly Lord Sri Krishna is a great personality, but he is the supreme personality of Godhead. and he is Bhagavan. So like sometimes you heard they refer to like Bhagavan Narada, or something like that. They use the word Bhagavan, but really Krishna is the Bhagavan. So anyway, in a similar way, we heard in this verse that sometimes the individual soul is referred to the Parameshvara of the body, because it's just more of a basic breakdown of that we have this. There's this body, and then there's a soul inhabiting the body that's actually controlling it. And based on the soul and the desire of the soul and the consciousness, that is what is dictating the movements of the body, in one sense, ultimately. But then he said that, well, sometimes Parameshvara is perceived as the super soul, which is basically, essentially, Krishna. So I don't know if that really answered or satisfied the question. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that now. Yes. We're on 30. You have something else?
No, I'm just trying to assimilate equally present everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just keep hearing. Something will happen. Text 30. Prakrityeva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvasha ya pashyati tatmanam akartaram sapashyati. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Purport: this body is made by material nature under the direction of the Supersoul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desires. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. Yada bhutta pratag bhavam ekastam anupashyati tata eva cha vishtaram brahma sampadyate tada. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Purport: when one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul, and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. Excuse me. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, and so on. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. Spirit soul, due to contact with material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision, thus being freed from differentiations like man, animal, big, low, and so on. One becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse.
So the soul can desire.
Hmm?
So the soul can desire.
Mm-hmm.
So are all desires of the soul, or is it just these perverted false ego desires that we're used to that are different from the soul desires?
Well, they're all coming from the soul.
Okay.
But that's why the soul is referred to as the Tatushta Shakti, or the marginal potency, because they're like you have the spiritual energy, you have the material energy, and then you have the marginal potency, the living entities. So it's like they're like situated like on the bank of a river. Like they can sometimes be in water, but they'll sometimes be up on land. So they'll sometimes be in the material energy, sometimes be in the spiritual. So they can choose to desire either way. The material desires are not like, you could say, not of the soul, but they're coming from the soul. Yeah. And then the soul gets entangled with material nature and starts identifying with the body, and then it's coming up with all kinds of desires based on the identification with the body.
My soul begins to desire something that's material. Is there a way to like turn that specific desire around into being spiritual?
Yeah, it's Krishna consciousness. Yep.
That's what we're already doing. Can you explain that process to me? I'm having trouble considering exactly how that. So it's like my soul desires be clean. Then I read the Bhagavad Gita, I realize we should be clean for Krishna. So then I'm that much more clean, and I'm trying to be clean for a certain purpose now. So this understanding takes you out of the mechanical conception. If you're ever having problems with being mechanical, it's like we just have to look at why we're doing it. At least that's what I was told, because the meaning, like mechanical anything is never about meaning. Mechanical anything is never meaningful. It's devotional. When the meaning is added, then it becomes devotional. So, for example, if I'm craving some karmi grains again, and I'm like...
Do I need to check the cereal boxes?
You do. I've gone through like half of them. There's no more Panda Puffs.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I suspected.
Okay.
At least one more bowl was taken out of there, probably.
No. I learned that was a hard lesson.
It just says Panda Puffs.
Panda Puffs. You want to tell the story?
Now keep going.
So, if I desire Panda Puffs with my soul's like, I need Panda Puffs. You need to like feel the sensation of the food touching your tongue and your going down your throat and feeling your belly get that much more full. How can I make that Krishna conscious?
Well, if you ever watch debates, usually a lot of times the person who wins is one who brings it down to the most fundamental platform.
Yeah.
So basically what you're talking about is, if you take about all the details, Panda Puffs, whatever, basically the soul is choosing sense gratification or Krishna's sense gratification. Personal sense gratification or the Lord's sense gratification. So if the soul is desiring, I want sense gratification, and I want to, identify with this body and try to enjoy it, well, then you go into that realm, and then you're going to be like, okay, I want Panda Puffs for the tongue, and I want this for that, and I want to hear this particular kind of music, and I want to smell this kind of flowers, and I want to smell this incense, and taste whatever, poppers, poppadoms, I want to, all that stuff, all the details, it doesn't matter. But if you can boil it down to sense gratification, personal sense gratification, or devotional service.
If I replace it with devotional service, will it eventually just like phase out? Like, what's the move if I feel like I'm craving something stupid?
Well, this requires good guidance from a bona fide spiritual master to situate oneself properly, because everyone has a quota and there's a certain allotment for each person has their own quota of how much sense gratification they can engage in according to where they're situated, and to do it in such a way that they can make progress. Where gradually, the sense gratification, you're getting like weaned off of it and more onto devotional service. That's literally what Grihastha Ashram is. yeah, depending on where we're at and these things, we get we we can boil it down to what amount of sense gratification is required and what is not,
Yeah.
and then going about it in a way of depending on what it is and how much we need and all this stuff, to going about it in a way that we can get purified. And that looks kind of different for everyone on one level. On one level, it's the same thing for everyone, but the details may vary. So that takes a great deal of honesty with oneself
Yeah.
and sincerity, being like really real. Can you live without panda puffs? Is there a way that you can make your own panda puffs and offer them to Krishna? Is there a way that you can make something else and maybe offer it to Krishna? Because in the Krishna consciousness, we're not lacking in the gratification of the senses. Nikunja said, keep trying.
Keep trying.
Keep trying. I'm not sure exactly what context that's
Like
coming in.
Keep not gratifying your senses. I don't know.
Yeah, keep trying. Sometimes we might try and not give up, but if we keep trying, eventually we will adjust the ways that we're approaching it, and then we can find the balance over time. But keep chanting. Yeah, keep trying. It's powerful to just keep trying, even if it's like ridiculous. Like you hope against hope, and you keep trying, and you keep failing, or whatever it is, however you perceive it. But you keep going, keep going, keep going. Eventually, Krishna's gonna, work his magic, give you the strength eventually. But the idea is not to focus on that. Focus on hearing and chanting, serving Krishna as much as possible.
Seeing him.
Because you might find yourself like, I can serve Krishna like 20 hours out of the day, and then I spend this 1 or 2 hours doing some other thing. And that's all right. Just keep trying, keep going. Eventually, it'll fade away. Or maybe it's like, I can chant my rounds. I can chant 16 rounds in 2 hours, but other than that, I'm done. Other than that, all I can do is try to enjoy my senses all day. Well, if you're chanting, that's good. That'll help because then you'll go on to do all your enjoyment, and then so many things will happen, and eventually you'll get sick of it, and then you'll be like, you know what, I'm just going to chant a little bit more. You know what, now I'm just going to start reading too, because material enjoyment doesn't stay the same, it changes. And then the more we engage in it, the more it's like, okay, this really isn't like where it's at, basically. Not for very long. I don't know why, but this is automatic in my mind nowadays. When I see people on the street, college students, I just somehow immediately, not always, it just depends, but a lot of times my mind would jump to like, just observing the typical college lifestyle. They very much think they're their bodies. They're trying to enjoy by eating foods and whatever, dressing their bodies up certain ways or this or that. And I'm just thinking like, how fleeting and temporary it is. Like, hey, this.
Yeah.
It's like in 10 years, this is just my mind. And I think in 10 years, this person's going to be fat. They're going to get fatter. This person, they're like eating this candy. Every time I see them walking into the campus, they got like a Snickers bar in their hand, and I'm thinking, I hope they brush their teeth, because very soon those teeth they're going to start rotting out of their head if they're not already. And then, I saw this lady today. I could just tell her hair was going to be prone to balding. Maybe not right now, but I just thought, yeah, balding is coming. She's going to be bald eventually. So I don't know, I'm just like observing the superficial stuff, and then I'm seeing like just into the future with it a little bit, Some things. I'm not always constantly thinking about it, but sometimes it can be a beneficial meditation for meditating on the temporariness of material things, and that can lead also to actually going back to taking shelter and actually seeing the Lord's presence also there. You can see it's almost like realizing the positive with the negative, the yin and the yang, in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where were we?
I think we did. I forget.
I think we're on 32. We're so close, but we're kind of going over time, so I don't really want to push it.
Wow.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jay.
So we can still take comments and stuff. So we're not in a rush to end here. She said, then hopefully as more realizations come, the not great stuff will eventually not be desirable. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is in Bhagavatam. Even if we take shelter of Krishna, all of our material desires will be fulfilled also. But they're going to be fulfilled in such a way that you come out on the other end not really wanting them anymore.
Yeah.
So whatever you need to go through to realize that, sometimes we might think that's all bad, like, oh, you go into something wanting it, and you come out of it not wanting it anymore, must not be good. And some things, yeah. But other things, it's like a gradual process of realizing, deepening one's relationship with Krishna over time, and gradually the relationship with the sense gratificatory objects, or sense objects, or whatever it is, it just changes because our realization changes, and your body changes too as you get older. You're like eating all this pizza and stuff, and then if you just keep doing that, eventually you're gonna get like sick of it. Your body's gonna really like turn into a pizza body. You would feel like not well. If you start feeling sick, especially when you hit in your 30s and stuff, body starts changing, and you're like, this, it's not even good anymore. Senses change, taste buds change, body's changing. It's like,
because it's like you realize, like, what's it getting at? You'll see the pizza. Eventually, you're doing Krishna consciousness. Eventually, you see the pizza, and you think, what is that pizza getting at? If I eat this pizza, if I eat these panda puffs, what is it getting at? It's not. It's just gonna feed my senses, and I'll feel better for like 5 seconds. I'll get like glimpses of like a good feeling, and then there's no objectivity to it. There's no objectivity to it actually being a good thing. That seems to be the realization. I'm trying to boil down that realization.
Yeah, we do have needs. We might have a need for certain things, even certain tastes, like a certain balance of things. But that's all there in Krishna consciousness. If you need something sweet, there's plenty of sweets in Krishna consciousness. Here we're a little bit austere with foodstuffs. Hardly. There's always something. There's not like there's never nothing. But it is kind of minimal. But anyway, like the point is, like the idea is just not. We can satisfy. All of our needs are met in Krishna consciousness. There's no point to go outside of it. You know. I mean, even, you know, I mean, unless you have a serious addiction to Panda Puffs, like it's got to be Panda Puffs, and you know, I just like I don't know. Well, there's other options. Like devotees make their own cereal. I've seen. So it's always some option. Yeah.
There's always some Krishna conscious option.
Yeah, it just might require a little bit of effort.
Effort. No, honestly, I can do that.
Effort. All right, Krishna. Yeah, but Krishna sees the effort, and he appreciates that. He gives advancement. Like we're going out on Sankirtan most days. I mean, really, you know, one level, you know, one could say, you know, not a lot of people are, not a lot of books are flying out, not a lot of people are coming. In fact, pretty much the answer would be 0 have come here. But slowly things are happening. You know, if you have the vision to see, Krishna is making stuff happen. And, you know, there's something to be said about consistent effort. Eventually, you know, something will happen. Things are happening, but eventually it'll manifest more gross, where people will be able to see more.
I'll read more about the super soul. I'll read the same verse again.
Ugh. Ouch.
One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind, thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Equally present everywhere.
Alright, we're going to end here. Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vanchakalpa Tribhischa Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anatakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Alright, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Kunja, for being here. Hari Bol. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
So nice.